We're starting on a little side quest. Right now we're on the Col Sainte-Marie. This was the border pass between back then France and the German Empire. And interestingly, look at that. The old border stone written in German. This one here says Staatsstraße number 3 from Schlettstadt, which is nowadays called Celesta, to Nancy kilometer 0 Oberelsass. Very beautiful. Here it says France, and on the other side it says Germany. Okay, let's see what can be found here. This forest road is called Chemin de la Landwehr, which means the Landwehr Road, named after Landwehr infantry regiments that fought here in the Vosges mountains. Here you can already see the first remain of a trench. Now that's a typical bunker, a German bunker of course. Let's have a look inside. Whatever this bunker was used for, maybe command post, something like that. And there's already the next one. Yeah, corrugated iron is rotting away. It already fell down. Well, so here it was like everywhere in the Vosges mountain. Up that ridge ran the former border between France and Germany. So the German troops dug themselves in on the eastern slopes of the Vosges mountain range that you can see here. And even far in the distance over there, you can barely make out the Black Forest. This one looks like a destroyed dugout or a bunker of sort. And here we already have the next one. You probably can tell here. This is maybe what remains of bricked trenches or some sort of reinforcement for something, but it's quite hard to tell by now. Here we have something else. Concrete remains of what might have been some sort of fortified position. You can see here there's some sort of piping, remains of corrugated iron. Ah well, now from this side it looks like the average reinforced command post or ammunition storage. Beautiful. And of course the view these men must have had. Well, the whole structure has collapsed. Maybe it was deliberately blown. We simply don't know. As it seems, these dugouts also have been deliberately destroyed, with the exception of this one. Yeah, but it's already collapsing, as you can see. Sad. But that's the reality. Frontline buildings. This one is collapsing too. Well, but nonetheless an impressive structure. So, what happened here? When the war broke out, the Germans were pretty fast at occupying the Vosges mountain line and fortifying it to the extent that we've seen it many times in my videos, because the French, they wanted the Vosges mountains and they wanted Alsace back. It was sort of like a national French obsession, and the Germans of course knew that, so they fortified the whole area. And of course these are just the back positions like dugouts, command posts, ammo depots, troop shelters and so on. The main front line was actually more in that direction, up that hill a few kilometers, but nonetheless up this mountain ridge, that was the border, and the French pushed through that. So the Germans fortified. On October 31st, 1914, the battalion of chasseurs alpins from the French army pushed really hard into this area, but the Germans withstood any attack here. So the front line barely ever moved. It was relatively stable. It just moved more or less 100 or 200 meters. So yeah, as I said, these are the positions adjacent to the Tête du Violu, just nearby, which I'm gonna go exploring in another video. This is just a side quest, but still we're not done yet. There's still something to see, so let's move on. What should be mentioned upon looking down this steep hill, the Germans of course also built cable car systems in that area as everywhere on the Vosges front. This one says Sanitätsunterstand Hessen, which can be translated to field hospital. And if you have a look here, that's quite interesting. Markings from the 40s, Second World War. Which totally makes sense, because the Germans used these World War I battlegrounds actually as training grounds. So let's have a look inside here. Well, upon looking at this quiet, spacious room, you can tell it totally makes sense. Few field beds, and doctors could treat the wounded coming down from the battlefield. That's truly peak German engineering right here. So for the whole 4 years of this war, this line up here never actually broke. It remained frozen. So the men that were stationed here never get to fight like they had been trained for, and so did the enemy. So the Germans and the French basically sat in their positions, enduring heavy snow, heavy rain, summer heat. But in this sector right here, nothing actually happened for the entirety of World War I. Besides, of course, small-scale actions, little skirmishes, little hand grenade attacks and so on, but nothing major worth talking about in this context. That's also why this area seems to be forgotten by history.